It was good, everybody. Was good, was good, was good, was good, was good, was good. Took me a quick minute to set it up. But we're about to go live. We're not going to take too much of your time. I just want to talk about this Boston Celtics game real quick. So I want to get into that. I'm sure a lot of you guys are watching game 2 between the Memphis Grizzlies and the Memphis Grizzlies and the Golden State Warriors. So I'm going to just give it a few seconds here. Let everybody catch up to this live, and then we're going to get into this one because I want to talk about this game real quick. And then I'm going to let you guys get back to that. Let me allow everybody to come on in. I see people are catching up to the live right now. We just posted it on Instagram. So if you guys are coming in, also make sure you follow us on IG and on Twitter. I know a lot of you guys ask me, do you guys any comments on Twitter? So in IG, we actually do. So I'm going to just post that real quick. I see we got some people coming in. Yo, what's good? Also, make sure you check in and let us know where you're coming in from. We're going to give it about another minute or so. I'm sure a lot of people are watching the game right now. So let me just pin that to the top real quick. And then let me get my Twitter handle because I know some of you guys ask us if we're on Twitter. So let me get that real quick. And then we're going to get it going. Because I got a lot of stuff, man, because this game just really surprised me. So let me just pin this right here. So if you guys want to follow us on Twitter. Okay, I see some people coming in. That Boston Celtics defense is crazy. Crazy good. That's what I want to focus on today. Bucks and 6. Is KD cool now? Yeah, KD is cool, but I mean, I'm not here to bash Kevin Durant, but I still think can we stop the KD hate? Nobody's hating on KD. I don't think anybody's hating on KD. Make sure you guys hit the like button. Let's give it about another 15 seconds and we're going to get it started. I don't think anybody's hating on KD. I just think that we got to give Giannis his proper, his proper props. So KD a GOAT. Also, let me know if you guys can hear me because I'm not sure if this live is coming in pretty clearly. So let me know if you can hear me. Just want you to be fair. Yeah, I'm going to be fair to him. I mean, I think I've always been fair to KD. So I don't think that just let me know if you guys can hear me. And then we're going to get it started. Okay, so let me just get into this because I'm sure a lot of you guys are watching that game. So let me just get into this. Going into that game, first of all, I was already pissed off. I was already pissed off with what was happening earlier today with some of the different storylines. Skip Bayless was pissing me off. You guys saw I did that video with the rant on the channel. And Skip Bayless just pissed me off, man. I thought it was just unnecessary. That video, we had no idea. We had no intentions to produce that video. But after seeing what Skip did, I just said, okay, I had to do that. So going into that game, I was already pretty hyped. And what I saw in the first, let me say, 6 to 8 minutes totally shocked me. The Boston Celtics came out there and they looked like a team that knew exactly what the hell they were supposed to do. They looked like the team that knew that if they lost that game, this series could have possibly ended in 4 games. If you listen to a lot of the people that made a prediction, most people in the media picked the Boston Celtics to win that game too, especially people that even picked the Bucks, like Shannon Sharp. He picked the Bucks to win the entire series, but he still picked the Boston Celtics to win game 2. And we actually put up a poll on our channel, and a lot of people picked the Milwaukee Bucks. Which made me think that there was a real recency bias. Like, I think a lot of people were reacting to what they just saw, and I think that they felt like, okay, the Bucks are going to go in there and do that, but that's exactly the total opposite of what happened. Those Boston Celtics came out there with a lot of energy, and it turned out that they hit so many threes in the first half that they actually broke the franchise record with hitting 13 three-pointers in a half. I have never seen a team shoot or get that hot in a first half of a game. And I think the Milwaukee Bucks basically were overwhelmed. I think the Bucks saw that, listen, there's no way that they're going to be able to overcome such a barrage, especially when those guys were that hot. Let me talk about Jaylen Brown. The way Jaylen Brown was playing in that first half, the way he was playing, I thought this dude was going to go out there and score like 50 points in a game. Jaylen Brown by himself was the number one reason I believe that the Boston Celtics were able to get that lead. He kept on hitting shot after shot, and I think he finished the first half in the first half. He had like something like 25 of his 30 points in the first half. And I think he hit like 5 3-pointers. Think about this. 5 3-point shots in the first half. And I think the Milwaukee Bucks just couldn't handle it. Like, that was too much of a barrage. And what were the people saying on TV? They said that the Boston Celtics were finally hitting shots in game 2 that they were not able to hit in game 1. They said they were getting the same looks. These were the same looks that they got in game 1. I think they attempted something like 53-point shots in game 1. And in this half, they pretty much hit all the shots. Let's talk about Giannis. And let's talk about this Boston Celtics defense, because I want to give him some credit. Giannis Antetokounmpo, I think, was bothered by this Boston Celtics defense. He was bothered. For as physical as Giannis plays, with as much ferocity that Giannis plays with, that Boston Celtics defense bothered him. I didn't even realize, because I don't watch a lot of Boston Celtics games, I didn't even realize that the Boston Celtics had so many great individual defenders. Giannis was 1 of 10. Think about this in the first half, or 2 of 12 or something like that in the first half, primarily because of 2 reasons. Number one, he was playing in a crowd the entire game. The entire game. Whenever Giannis was coming up the court, literally like 3 to 4 Boston Celtics were staring at him. So wherever he tried to get to on the floor, he always was met with 2 defenders. The fundamental difference, I believe, with Giannis and KD in terms of scoring against that Boston Celtics defense is this. If it was KD and KD was able to get to his spot, those Boston Celtics defenders were able to body him up so much and get into his airspace and crowd him that even when he tried to get to a pull-up jump shot, it would either be highly contested or they would just be able to bother his shot. In the case of Giannis, Giannis doesn't have that type of game. He's not the type of guy that's going to break you down, get to a spot, and pull up. So Giannis wasn't able to attack that Boston defense the way probably a stronger, more physical, mid-range player will be able to do. Maybe like a Kawhi or somebody that's stronger. And I think Giannis struggled. That's the first reason. He was playing in. The second reason is this, and it's simple. Al Horford and Grant Williams are, Giannis, especially Grant Williams. I did not know that this dude was such a great. If you look at him, Giannis is more physically imposing than Grant Williams. But Grant Williams is as strong as a bull, man. And he could take the body shots that Giannis was putting into him and absorb it and still maintain his ground. And I think they bothered Giannis. At least if he's struggling in a game, he doesn't really show it on his face. He doesn't really show it, but you could tell that he was bothered. He was definitely bothered. And going into that second half, when the Boston Celtics had that 20-point lead, welcome in, guys. Welcome in. When they had that 20-point lead going into the second half, I said to myself, it's going to be really, really hard for the Bucks to be able to come back and fight. Now, in that third quarter, to be fair, Giannis can. Okay, some people saying it's lagging. Is it lagging right now? Can y'all hear me? Is it lagging right now? Just let me know in the comment section if it's lagging. Is it lagging right now? Okay, good. All right. Appreciate that. Yeah, thank you. Anyway, in the second half, however, I think Giannis made it up in his mind that, listen, I'm going to score regardless of what happens. And that's exactly what he did. Giannis finished that third quarter. I think he scored something like 18 points in the third quarter. And he actually brought up his overall shooting percentage because he finished the game with 28 points, but he only shot 40% from the field. So if Giannis was able to score all of those points, Giannis basically shot in the first half. Giannis shot in the first half. Think about this. In 18 minutes, he shot 16.7%. 16.7. In the second half, Giannis shot 60%. So Boston pretty much won that game in the first quarter, and the Bucks were essentially playing catch up for the rest of the game. Pretty much that's what happened. And you got to give them credit. This Boston Celtics defense, I want to be fair. I don't want to make it look like I'm only going to do a live if the Bucks win. No, no, no. We're going to talk about the Celtics. This Boston Celtics defense is unlike something. Is I haven't seen a team play that type of defense in a very, 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 very long time. I haven't seen it. These guys not only play great team defense, but they also have great individual defenders. Jason Tatum is an underrated defender. Jaylen Brown is an underrated defender. Obviously, they had the defensive player of the year, Marcus Smart, who didn't even play in that game. But you also have Grant Williams. You also have Al Horford and all these other bodies. Plus, they communicate well on defense. What's their? I forgot their center. The guy. What's his name? What's the center for the Celtics? What's his name? I got it right here. Rob Williams III. This Boston Celtics team is a hell of a defensive team. A hell of a defensive team. It is no surprise why KD struggled. I think, in my personal opinion, I think that the Brooklyn Nets, to talk about the Brooklyn Nets for a second, I genuinely think that they were caught off guard. I think that they thought, because they had so many superior offensive players, that they would be able to go into that series and basically overwhelm them with their talent. And they quickly found out that team was just the worst matchup for them. This Boston Celtics team is legit, but we all knew that if they didn't win this game, the chances of the Celtics winning this series or winning a game would be bleak. So in the case of the Bucks, I think the Milwaukee Bucks did exactly what they had to do because they won the most important game, which was game one. If they didn't win game one and they lost game one, usually when a road team, when they're starting off a series and they're starting off on the road, if they don't get game one, especially if it's a close game and they don't win it, game two is virtually impossible to win. The only team I can remember that lost the game one but won game two, I think, there are a few. One of them was the Denver Nuggets with Carmelo Anthony, Chauncey Billups, and these guys. I think they beat the Lakers in game two, on the road. And I think the Boston Celtics in the NBA Finals against the Lakers, they stole game two on the Lakers' home court, and the Lakers had to go play the next three games in Boston, and they were able to win game three. And I think they lost the next two games, came down 3-2, and then won game five and game six and game seven. It is very hard to win that second game. So from the Bucks standpoint, I think they did their job. They're going back to Milwaukee 1-1. So they did their job. In the case of Boston, the series now shifts to the road. Boston has to win one of those two games in Milwaukee to make this thing a series. If they go to Milwaukee and they drop those two games and they're down 3-1, the chances of them coming back from a 3-1 hole is going to be virtually impossible. And in the case of the Bucks, if they did not win one of those first two games in Boston, they needed to win game six, because if they lost game six, you don't want to be in Boston for game seven. So I think this series is probably, in my opinion, the most exciting series in the first round. Some people will say it's going to be, the second round. Some people say it's the Golden State Warriors and the Memphis Grizzlies. That game is going on right now. I'm sure a good amount of you people are watching that, and I'm going to let you guys get back to that game. I just want to cover this. But to me right now, listen, I think that obviously Giannis was bothered in game two, but he still found a way to score. I'm beginning to understand that maybe people feel like I'm hating on KD. No. What I want people to do is to be fair to Giannis. KD's a hell of a player, but I felt as if Giannis was able to have more success against his Boston Celtics team, hence they won game one, and I felt like he should get that respect. But I'm beginning to understand that this Boston Celtics team is unlike a team I haven't seen in a long time, man. For them to be able to slow down two top three, top five players consecutively says something about that team. It's one thing if the Boston Celtics were able to neutralize Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, and in the second round, Giannis just dominated them. But in this case, Giannis is also shooting terribly. I think he's shooting below 40% so far in this series against this Boston Celtics defense. And that tells me that this team is maybe a lot better. Thank you so much for that, John Doe. Maybe a lot better than I think all of us realize, especially from the defensive side of the floor. If Boston somehow finds a way to advance and somehow finds a way to make it to the finals, whoever plays this Boston Celtics teams, whether it's the Memphis Grizzlies, whether it's the Golden State Warriors, whether it's the Phoenix Suns, they are going to struggle mightily against this defense. I have not seen a team play defense like this. One of the teams I thought was going to play great defense was when the Clippers first got Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, and they had Patrick Beverley, Marcus Smart, Marcus Morris. Those guys, they don't come close to this team. They don't come close. And you got to give them a lot of, I think they're dangerous. However, I think the Milwaukee Bucks, I think you should expect them to be able to bounce back when they go back to Milwaukee. There's no way the Milwaukee Bucks are not going to make adjustments. I think they need to find better spots for Giannis to be able to get some buckets. Number one, they need to get some stops. They couldn't get any stops. Therefore, whenever Milwaukee was taking out the ball out of bounds, they were playing against that set defense. And if they're going to be playing against the set defense of the Boston Celtics, Giannis is going to struggle. He's going to be able to get his points, but he won't be efficient, which means that the Milwaukee Bucks players need to be able to hit some shots. They missed a lot of shots. One of the players for the Bucks today, I forgot his name. His name here is was it Grayson Allen? And only made one shot and attempted one shot. They can't have that. Brook Lopez only had 2 points. He only attempted 2 shots. He only played 12 minutes. They can't have that in game 3. They're going to need some of these guys to step up. Serge Ibaka only played 2 minutes, and he took 2 shots, and he didn't make any shots. Think about this. The Milwaukee Bucks in game 2, right? Let me just make sure I'm looking at the right stats here. No. 1 second. Let me get the correct stats. All periods. Yes. The Milwaukee Bucks in game 2, they only, apart from Giannis and Drew Holiday and Pat Connaughton, those are the only players that really showed up in Bobby Portis. These guys are going to need more. You can tell that Milwaukee is missing Chris Middleton, but nevertheless, they have to find a way to win, because if you look at the Boston Celtics, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players in double figures. 5 players in double figures. Jason Tatum, who was struggling in the first half, ended up shooting 50% from the field in the game. Jaylen Brown shot 60%. Excuse me. And you have Grant Williams, that stud, that monster, that skinny dude that's strong as hell. He finished the game with 21 points. And he's a defensive guy. He ended up hitting 6 of 9 threes. If they allow that to happen again in Milwaukee, they're going to lose. But I think the Milwaukee Bucks are going to make the right adjustments, and I think it's going to be a long series. I still have the Milwaukee Bucks winning this series in 6 games, but we shall see. We shall see. They still got to go out there and play these games. But for now, my number one takeaway from this entire game and this entire playoffs right now, looking at this Boston Celtics team, is that this is a special defense. If the referees are going to allow this team to play, they are going to give teams fits this particular team. they're going to give them fits for players like Giannis and Kevin Durant to be struggling against this team. It tells you something. And if Giannis is not going to be able to be successful against this team, I don't know who will. The only other guy I can think of is what's his name? Joel Embiid. But Joel Embiid isn't healthy right now. He's out. So to me, it was a hell of a game. I definitely look forward to the rest of this series, and I'm actually quite surprised. I wasn't surprised that the Boston Celtics won. I was just surprised at how they won. Milwaukee didn't have any answers for them. So to me, I think it's going to be a great series. So anyway, want to thank you for being a part of this live. Again, if you haven't followed us on Instagram, we pin that to the top. Make sure you follow us on Instagram. And if you're not following me on Twitter, I'm going to post that right here. Make sure you follow us on Twitter. I do respond to some of your comments. I also, read some of your comments. Refs, Wallace said they let them play in game one. And this, yeah, it was strange. The refereeing in game two was really strange. Rucker, yeah, that's a very good point you made. It was really weird. They were calling a lot of ticky-tack fouls in game two, whereas in game one, appreciate that, Bobby. But in game one, it wasn't like that. It's quite strange. And let me tell you something. If they allow these teams to play physically, it could be a toss-up because Boston is a fantastic defense, but so is Milwaukee. So to me, I think this series, man, is going to be a lot of fun, and I can't wait to see how it goes. So once again, man, appreciate you guys for being a part of this live, and I'm gonna let you guys get to the next game. Appreciate you guys, and we'll catch you guys tomorrow on the channel. Have a good one. Catch you guys later. Peace.